Hi, I'm Holly Cook. I'm the proud director of the Governmental Affairs Office, and welcome to this year's ABA Day event. Once again, we have to do it virtually, so as part of the fun, we decided from GAO that we were going to give you a tour of some of our favorite places in the Washington, D.C. area, since you can't be here yourself. For me, if you don't know me, I'm also a retired Army officer. I wanted to show you something of my past from a different view. Arlington Cemetery. Most people go through the front gates where there's crowds and tourists and see this historic monument. I wanted to show you from the version of a service member who has family and friends buried at Arlington Cemetery from a quieter road, the road less traveled. I'm standing here at Old Post Chapel. Services happen in this chapel. It's a historic small chapel, very intimate, to say goodbye. And then the family, as they leave the front steps of the chapel, they'll walk through these gates into Arlington, where there are no crowds. It's just the family. And where service members are quietly buried and paid with the utmost of respect. This is where you see Arlington from the perspective that it is a national cemetery, and it is something that is beloved from all of us. You wouldn't see this as part of your own tour from Arlington, so I wanted to show you from here. I hope you enjoy our ABA Day events, and welcome to Arlington Cemetery.
Hello, my name is David Epstein, Legislative Counsel with the American Bar Association's Governmental Affairs Office here in Washington, D.C. I want to welcome you to our Advocacy for Justice event, and thank you for joining us. Our voices collectively really do matter to our policymakers as we advocate on several issues of importance to the legal profession and to our country. Needless to say, we really couldn't do it without you. Your collective voices really help amplify our message to the people. So this time, we're really focused on increased funding for the Legal Services Corporation, so more people can have access to legal services, such as those facing eviction and those suffering from domestic violence. We're also advocating for increased security for our judicial system to really help protect our judges, our courthouses, and the public who utilize those services. So again, thank you for being here as we advocate on these very important issues for our country and for our profession. Your voices really do matter, so thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Ken Goldsmith from the ABA Governmental Affairs Office. I handle criminal justice reform, issues affecting military and veterans' families and their caregivers, homelessness and poverty, like housing and evictions during the COVID crisis, and our proud support for the Law Library of Congress. And since we couldn't be together this year, I wanted to express my appreciation for your activity by bringing you to a memorial that's special to me, that I actually found by accident one day because it's on an island in the Potomac River. And that is because we're at the other Roosevelt Memorial, the Teddy Roosevelt Memorial. It is gorgeous normally. It has a large moat going around it with flanking fountains. It has the president with his outstretched hand and a gesture of, hey kids, get off my lawn. There are 4 tablets in the back addressing issues of nature, of the state of youth. Now that you can know that it's here, you can Google, but the best way to see it is in person, and I hope we have a chance to do that the next time you're in town.
Hello, my name is Megan PLOMBON. I'm a Program Associate in the Government Affairs Office of the ABA, and I assist our lobbyists on a range of issues such as access to legal services, dispute resolution, and criminal justice in our DC office. Today, I'm standing on the National Mall in front of the Lincoln Memorial, which was built in 1922 to honor our 16th president, emancipation, and the preservation of our union. This is also where Martin Luther King led his March on Washington, specifically stopping at the memorial to give his I Have a Dream speech. So with that, welcome to ABA Day 2021, and I hope you enjoy what we have in store.
Hello, my name is Denise CARDMAN, and I'm Deputy Director of the ABA's Governmental Affairs Office. While I'm involved in a variety of activities in the office, my lobbying responsibilities primarily focus on administration of justice, federal courts, and select civil rights issues. My intention had been to bring you to Bartholomew Park, which is on Independence Avenue just a few blocks down from the House office buildings. But unfortunately, it's inaccessible right now because it's behind barbed wire fencing that was erected to protect the Capitol grounds after January 6th. I'm therefore going to show you a few pictures. I love this pocket park. It's a beautiful garden and peaceful little oasis with benches and places in the shade where you can go for a short respite between your lobbying visits. In the middle of the park
is the fountain of light and water. It was designed by Frederick Bartholdi, the Frenchman who later created the Statue of Liberty, and it is especially spectacular at night. I want to thank you all for demonstrating your commitment to improving our justice system by participating in ABA Day 2021. Take care and stay safe.
Hi, and welcome to ABA Day. I'm Allison Lundy, a program specialist for the ABA's Governmental Affairs Office. I'm an administrative staff member and I help plan ABA Day. I'm here in front of the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, which is one of DC's most popular monuments, and it was built under the FDR administration. It's currently undergoing some cleaning, which is why you see some scaffolding on the dome. On the outside, it features a sculpture of the Committee of Five, who are the 5 members who drafted the Declaration of Independence, and inside there's a statue of Jefferson himself. It sits on the tidal basin, which is one of my favorite spots in DC. This is where every year during our annual Cherry Blossom Festival, you can come to see the flowers at peak bloom. So I hope you're enjoying your virtual tour of DC, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you in person next year.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael O'Neill. I'm a legislative counsel at the American Bar Association, and I just wanted to welcome you to ABA Day 2021. I'm also a proud Marine, and I'm here right outside of the Iwo Jima Memorial that was made iconic through the photo taken by Joe Rosenthal in 1945 when 5 Marines and 1 Navy corpsman raised the American flag on Mount Suribachi. The Battle of Iwo Jima claimed 27,000 American casualties, and this memorial is the most iconic photograph, potentially even in history, but certainly for the Marine Corps. And it also is the time when Admiral Chester Nimitz coined the iconic term where uncommon valor was a common virtue. So I just wanted to say thank you. We have a different mission, but I hope we live up to it with the same strength and tenacity and honor that we do in the Marine Corps. Semper Fidelis.
Hi, I'm Allison Rosenstock, the grassroots specialist for the Governmental Affairs Office, and I work on digital advocacy. Today, I'm here at the National Zoo, founded in 1889. One fun fact about this zoo is that it has over 2,700 animals. In my opinion, the most fun are the giant pandas. The giant pandas here were a gift from Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai in the 1970s. Since then, many pandas have been born here, and they plan to stay here until at least 2023. Thanks, and welcome to ABA Day.
Hi, my name is Eric Story, and I'm your Director of Grassroots and Digital Advocacy for the American Bar Association. And I would really like to show you a monument that not a lot of people get to see here, and that is our famed cherry blossoms. Our cherry blossoms were a gift from the nation of Japan in 1912, and they gifted us about 3,000 of these. These are incredibly beautiful trees. There's about 12 different species in all, but they only bloom for about 1 week out of the year. I'm gonna put my mask on because I'm gonna go into some public here. But the funny thing about the gift was about half of them were initially either diseased or had some sort of insects in them. So Japan actually the next year gifted us another 3,020 of them. Of that original gift, only about 100 of them are left. But we do have all 12 varieties around the tidal basin, around the National Mall, and really all throughout the city. It really is something special. Every year we get reports on these things, and we get peak bloom forecasts. And we are fortunate enough to be in the peak bloom right now. So I would like to introduce you to Washington, D.C.'s famous cherry blossoms.
Hi, I'm Larson Frisbee, the ABA's Associate Governmental Affairs Director. I handle many different issues for our office, including business law and bankruptcy, federal agency regulation of attorneys, the attorney-client privilege, alternative dispute resolution, and many other issues as well. I'm standing here today outside of the Udvar Hazy Center, one of the two Smithsonian Air and Space Museums in the DC area. This one's located about 20 miles west of DC. This museum is home to many famous aircraft, including the Enola Gay, which dropped the first atomic bomb on Japan in World War II, the Space Shuttle Discovery, and the SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest airplane in the world. Welcome to ABA Day 2021, and thank you for helping us to fight for justice.
Hello again, and welcome back to Day 2 of ABA Day 2021. I hope you enjoyed that whirlwind tour of DC by members of our governmental affairs staff. It's a reminder of what awaits all of us when we gather in person for ABA Day 2022. It's going to be a great time. And thanks again for participating in yesterday's events. I hope you now have a stronger understanding of our two focal issues. I also hope you've utilized the available digital tools to contact your members of Congress to ask them to take action to advance our issues. If you have any questions on how to access any of our resources, please feel free to contact Eric Story of our GAO staff at 202-662-1770. So what are we going to do today? Well, in this final 90 minutes of programming, we have a stellar lineup of issue experts and leaders on Capitol Hill. They're going to provide us insights on why these issues matter so much. They're also going to help us understand what's going on in Congress right now. So let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Rula Alouche, a member of the ABA Day Planning Committee, who's going to moderate a discussion between two giants of the legal aid community. Rula, talk to us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this important conversation on supporting legal services and the Legal Services Corporation. We're very lucky to have with us today two distinguished guests who are leaders in the legal community and tireless advocates for access to justice and legal services. Ron Flagg currently serves as president of the Legal Services Corporation after having served as vice president for legal affairs and general counsel since 2013. Mr. Flagg has a long list of leadership roles in the legal community, including previously serving as president of the District of Columbia Bar. He currently serves as chair of the District of Columbia Bar's Pro Bono Task Force and chairs the board of National Veterans Legal Services Program. We're also lucky to have with us Robert Gray. Robert Gray currently serves as president of the Leadership Council on Legal Diversity and is senior counsel with his firm Hunton and Williams. Mr. Gray has been an active member of the legal community and the American Bar Association throughout his career. He is a past president of the ABA and also served as chair of the association's policymaking body, the House of Delegates. In 2010, Mr. Gray was appointed by President Obama to the board of the Legal Services Corporation, and he still serves in that capacity. I could say so much more about both of them, but needless to say, we're really honored to have you both join us today. Thank you for taking the time for this important conversation.
Thanks, Rula. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Rula.
Thank you. Robert, if I could, I'd like to start with you and just ask, how have legal aid needs changed during this COVID-19 pandemic?
It's probably a good idea to put this into some context. The National Research Center at the University of Chicago conducted a study for us in 2017, where they looked at the legal needs of low-income Americans versus the resources they had, and made a stark evaluation for us. We were able to determine that 86% of Americans who are subject and would be available, have the opportunity for legal services to be provided to them, either were receiving no assistance or inadequate assistance. You know, that amounts to about 57 million people, or about 18% of the population that's eligible. Contrast that with the fact that we have now had to deal with a pandemic, which has been extremely disruptive to everybody's lives. But more importantly, it has had a tremendous and adverse effect on low-income Americans. For example, we saw an increase of 1,200% of those eligible in Atlanta not being able to receive or receiving inadequate assistance for their legal needs. This has been an incredibly difficult time, not only for those Americans who are in need of those services, but the stress that it has put on the resources that they need available to them to exercise their legal rights.
If I could also just interject, Rula, we're seeing more people now eligible for legal services than in the days that we did the 2017 Access to Justice Gap report, and surges in certain legal needs such as unemployment, evictions. We're seeing many programs reporting a doubling of the number of evictions that they're seeing despite the eviction moratorium, and increases in many areas in domestic violence applications. So Robert hit the nail on the head.
So Ron, how is the Legal Services Corporation responding to these significant needs that you've both explained to us?
First and foremost, LSC is a funder, so obviously we're focused on funding. Just over a year ago, we were avidly seeking and succeeded in securing $50 million in emergency funding in the CARES Act, which we granted out in 3 weeks in 2 tranches, a grant program of about $2.5 million to increase the technological capacity of our grantees so that they could operate remotely. And then the other $47 million or so for general operations, including notably hiring more lawyers and more paralegals to meet the increased need that Robert just referred to. We continue to seek additional emergency funding, and we'll be doing that for some time. At the same time, we have our annual appropriation process, and we've been seeking increases in our annual appropriation, both to meet the justice gap that Robert described, as well as to meet the increased need created by the pandemic. At the end of 2020, we did secure an additional $25 million to bring our annual appropriation up to $465 million. That is the highest our annual appropriation has ever been. And while that's a good thing, it's still far too little to meet the needs both pre-pandemic and is aggravated by the pandemic. So consistent with that increased need, our board has authorized, I would add our bipartisan board has authorized a budget request for FY 2022 of just over $1 billion. And the White House will get the ball rolling on the FY 2022 budget process when it releases its budget shortly. In addition to funding, we provide other means of support to our grantees. We provide technical support. So from the outset of the pandemic, we were sharing with our grantees the innovations that their colleagues around the country had come up with. And our grantees really have responded to the pandemic with great courage and innovation. They're really first responders. And we have greatly increased our public outreach during this period. We've been really on a monthly basis holding forums and access to justice events about the effect of the pandemic on our grantees and on their clients, on the digital divide, because we're all much more reliant on technology, but technology is not equally available to people living in poverty as it is to others. And we found a great public thirst for this kind of information. Some of our events have attracted over 1,000 viewers, which for legal aid is a big deal. I did an interview of Matt Desmond, the author of the Pulitzer Prize winning book Evicted, that drew over 1,000 people. And the last thing I'd say is LSC was doing this work and our grantees were doing this work while all of us, like all of you, were working remotely. And while working remotely, trying to take care of kids' remote learning needs and take care of our families and ourselves from a healthcare perspective.
Thank you, Ron. We know it's been a challenging time for everyone. It's helpful to hear the details and the steps that LSC is taking. And we thank you and your entire team for the work that you're doing, despite the challenging times in the pandemic. You mentioned the book Evicted, and one of the areas of a topic of interest that's been kind of ongoing since the pandemic has been the issue of evictions. And Robert, I was hoping to ask you if you could share from your perspective, what's a person's likelihood of success, just generally speaking, when having representation in an eviction case versus where they don't have representation?
Well, it's a great question. It makes a huge difference. Individuals who have representation are just more likely to have a favorable outcome if they go to court. Those without representation are usually prevented from keeping their home and are then complicated with other aspects of being evicted that impact their lives greatly. The services of a pro bono lawyer or a lawyer from legal aid can make a huge difference in the outcome of an individual's case. For example, in Shelby County, Tennessee, those without representation prevailed about 2% of the time. And then you contrast that with Cleveland, Ohio, where the legislature was able to pass a law that granted a right to counsel in eviction cases. And in those instances, low-income Americans were able to prevail 93% of the time. So having counsel, being able to rely on representation, either through advice or in-person representation, makes a huge difference in the outcome of an individual's case.
Wow, those are staggering statistics. Thank you for sharing those with us. Robert just shared with us specifically about the eviction issue. What can you say that lack of funding for LSC means for individuals outside of eviction cases, just generally speaking?
We see the same pattern across other sorts of cases. And I'll mention one category in particular, debt collection. And I mentioned debt collection because that's an area of civil cases that has skyrocketed over the last decade. And very few people in debt collection, very few defendants in debt collection cases are represented by a lawyer. And in fact, many, and in some jurisdictions, most default. We have data that show that, like in evictions, having a lawyer makes a difference. In Philadelphia, for example, unrepresented defendants in debt collection cases prevail 35% of the time, which actually is probably higher than you would see nationwide. But if they're represented, they prevail 93% of the time, a huge difference. In Virginia, where Robert is, unrepresented defendants prevail just 2% of the time, which I think is probably closer to the national figures that I typically see. But represented defendants prevail 10 times that percentage, over 23%. So having a lawyer in cases other than evictions makes a huge difference.
Robert, what happens to the people who are denied representation because of the lack of funding for legal services?
Rula, it is a compounded effect of not having representation. It affects their health and their ability to get health services. It obviously affects, as we've talked about before, their homes, their ability to meet their debt requirements. They usually have staggering unemployment issues. It affects custody. It is something that has a ripple effect throughout their lives. What we found out is that assistance comes in many forms. Some of it is just through advice. Some of it is just through counseling. Just being aware of your rights and having the opportunity to respond in a way that is thoughtful and analytical gives them a chance to work out ways in which to resolve their conflict. But make no mistake about it, when they are represented, either by pro bono counsel or by a legal aid attorney, the level of comfort, the level of protection, the level of security is magnified tremendously, and their lives are less disrupted. They are more productive, and they're able to care for their families. This is what we've learned to be part of what allows people to maximize their full potential. When they are hampered and without representation, it's like walking into court, one hand tied behind your back, and somebody says, okay, let's see both hands. And you're unable to do it. You're unable to not only have your rights determined fairly, but also to not be able to have your rights adjudicated fairly because you are unprepared, you're not knowledgeable, and the need for representation is magnified in those situations.
That one hand tied behind the back analogy is so impactful. It really helps, I think, people understand the importance of having a legal aid attorney and legal services for individuals who have this need. Ron, I guess as a last question, for those of us who are listening and inspired by the desire to provide comfort and protection to people with these needs, can you talk about what one needs to do to actually become a legal aid attorney?
Well, thanks, Rula. I hope people are inspired to do exactly what you've suggested. There is no single path to becoming a legal aid lawyer. Certainly a willingness to knock on the doors of legal aid providers and be persistent is helpful, as it is in any job search. That said, I would certainly suggest to the law students out there to participate in legal aid clinics or internships. Those sorts of experiences will help you first help people in need early in your career and get a sense of what legal aid work is like, and will help you establish connections with organizations that are helpful in subsequent job searches. And likewise for the attorneys out there, whether you're in a law firm or practicing on your own or in the government, provide pro bono assistance to legal aid organizations and their clients. That will, again, give you that experience. It will help people in need and will help inform you as to whether legal aid work is for you. And if you do decide it is, again, you'll have established a relationship with a legal aid provider. There's no more noble work in our profession, I believe, than being a legal aid attorney. It's not very remunerative, but it is rewarding in terms of fulfilling the reason why many of us went into the law in the first place. Robert and I are old enough that we probably have trouble remembering quite why it was we became lawyers, but when we do recall it, I think for both of us and for many people, providing legal assistance to people of limited means is one of the reasons we got into the profession to begin with.
Rula, let me add one other thing. Ron and the staff of legal services and the grantees that they work with have really developed an area of practice in the country related to law assisting those in poverty. It is unique and it is career defining. There are many individuals who practice in this field who have made a lifetime of their commitment and their service and their knowledge to improving the lives of millions of Americans. It is the highest calling of a lawyer to be able to provide this type of service. I got to tell you, I'm so proud of Ron and the staff and the grantees that we provide funding for. They're an amazing group of individuals.
Thank you both. I know I'm certainly inspired, and I can only imagine how many other people will be inspired hearing about the work that you both do. Thank you for your leadership and your work in this area. And thank you for taking the time to help us understand why it's so important to support funding for legal services. Thank you both.
Thank you, Rula.
Thanks, Rula.
Hello, my name is Persis Smith, and I am making this video to thank Pine Tree Legal. Pine Tree Legal came to me at one of the lowest parts of my life. I had just left my husband of 5 years from a domestic violence marriage and had 2 small children at home. I needed to obtain a protective order for myself and my 2 children, as well as go to court for divorce. And Pine Tree Legal was there to help. When I was feeling low or scared and had questions, 2 of your lawyers worked with me and my children and helped keep us safe and answer our questions. And I am forever thankful for your services. And I really look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Hello, my name is Carmen Garza, and I'm an attorney with Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, TRLA or TRALA for short. For the past 21 years, I have been a lawyer who represents domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking survivors. And today it's my great honor to introduce to you one of my clients, Harika.
Hi, I'm Harika. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Harika, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your history and your story?
Sure. I'm from India, belongs to a big family where I come from a lot of traditions, religion, customs and all. So where we follow that very strictly, where the good daughter never say no to the family. That's how I came. And after I married to my husband, according to the Hindu traditions and all, I came to the United States along with him with lot of happiness and lot of desires. But once I came here, I'm completely my world was completely different, and he showed me the true colors. Initially, it was started with like emotionally, and later it went the physical abuse, and it ended up with the sexual abuse. And later I realized that he's controlling everything, and like a financially, immigration status and everything, like even my health insurance, everything. And the major thing is like he fixed the cameras all over the house, and I just asked him what is the reason for fixing the cameras all over the house and especially in the bedroom. And he told that that's a rule we need to follow in this country. I thought that yes, that's a true. And as I believed him a lot and I trusted him a lot, and I really thought that he's my world. And he didn't even allow me to talk with my parents later. He didn't allow me to communicate with any of the persons like my neighbors, friends, or anyone. I even don't know like who are my neighbors. That's how I am, because he's completely isolated me at home. So later he started asking me to do all the chores in regular basis. Even though I finish, he used to abuse me in different ways. Basically, he treated me like a slave.
Harika, how was it that you became connected to TRLA?
Okay. After taking all this abuse, one fine day, it went very worse. Like he called to the cops, and he committed that move me to the mental health unit. And after going there, the psychiatric doctor and my caseworker, they concluded that I'm a victim of domestic violence. And they supported me a lot. I stayed like almost more than one day. I think 2 days I stayed. In the second day, they told my husband he dropped the divorce documents at the mental health unit front office. So I just showed to the doctor and my caseworker, and they explained me the true colors of my husband more. Then they connected me to Denton County Friends of the Family, which is in Denton, and later they connected me to Trola, and Mary Carmen was appointed as my attorney.
Harika, was there anything wrong with you that needed you to be at this mental health hospital?
Sorry, pardon me?
Was there anything wrong with you to go to the mental health hospital?
No.
So tell us about why you needed a lawyer at that time.
So the main thing is in the divorce, he used as a ground that I'm mentally unstable. That's the first thing. And second thing, by that time, I'm having the 2.5 months old baby boy who is a US citizen. So to protect my kid and to protect me to stay in this country. I just need an attorney or need a legal services, um, to prove that which was false, what is he's trying to claim.
Was this the only matter that you were having to navigate at the time, or did you have other issues that you needed to figure out?
So it's not only the divorce thing, as I told you, like he controls my immigration status. I'll be out of status by the time, within a month. Like after he filed the divorce, within a month, I need to leave the country because I don't have immigration status, as he controls my immigration and even the financially. So that's why I need the legal aid.
And as a result of working with legal aid, can you tell us what was the outcome of your situation?
Okay. There are a lot of changes. So the main things are as I told you, like when I came from India, I don't know anything here. I don't know whom to contact, whom to approach. I'm really scared to talk with the people because of my communication and all. But once I connected to the legal aid, like initially I connected to Denton County Friends of the Family. When I am there, they gave me the counseling services. They gave me like a lot of suggestions, how to talk, how to communicate. It's okay, even though if you are wrong, they told me to talk. Then only the people can understand, even the court can understand, even the higher authorities or anyone whom you are talking, they can understand your situation and they will try to figure it out and they will try to help as much as possible they can. So that's how I started talking slowly to one by one, and later after connecting to Trolla, I got Mary Carmen, Megan, and like other couple of attorneys. So which they supported me a lot. Not even see, I'm telling you, like many of the attorneys, I'm not treating them very low. Just try to understand the way how I am connected to Trolla is. Generally, the attorneys will any attorney will take the they will work from morning 9 to 5, or some there will be certain time. But in my case, to be honest, Mary Carmen or Megan, whomever it may be from Trolla or DCF, they continually worked me all the time. They are available for me 24/7, which where the victim needs that kind of service. That's what we deserve. So, and they took my case into the next level, like by getting the experts, by opening about the tradition, culture, how I came, like what under what type of traditions did we married, like me and my husband. So they try to explain to the court, they filed for the jury, they try to explain the court what I went through, how I came, how I grew up. Then only the judge understand all the things and the jury understood all the things, and they gave me I believe that they gave me the fair justice, and I got my son as a sole custody. Now I am the sole custody of my son. I can make exclusive decisions for my son. I'm really happy and thankful to all the decisions which helped me.
Thank you, Hadika. Thank you for trusting us with your case, with your story, and for being courageous throughout the process. Like Hadika, there are many other survivors, and as Hadika mentioned, sometimes there's more than one legal issue. In Hadika's case, and any other individual that we work with, it's important that we work being victim-centered and holistically addressing as many of the issues that they present, as often there may be different legal issues altogether. Thank you, Hadika, for sharing your story and for your courage and bravery.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I request from all the victims, on behalf of all the victims, we really need the legal aid services like this, because you are our voice in the court and you are our voice in front of the officials. So that's why we really need the legal aid, like people who are coming from coming from other countries like me. They really need the legal aids because they don't have any financial support or moral support. Moral support is very important, which I got, and which I blessed with my attorney. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eric Story, and I'm the Director of Grassroots and Digital Advocacy here at the American Bar Association. Now that we've heard a little bit more about the issues, and we know how to advocate effectively, I'd like to show you exactly how you can send a letter to your member of Congress using our congressional messaging portal. So right now, I'd actually like to jump over and show you some of the tools that we have on our website. So coming from our website, we'll just want to go up here and go to ambar.org/ABA Day, and we'll be taken to our toolkit right here. Since we're interested in sending an email right now, we're going to scroll past the registration link and the schedule of events, and we're going to look right here to this option. Clicking here, you'll actually be taken to our messaging portal, and you'll be given some information here on the left-hand side. Now, if you're going there the day of ABA Day, you'll see some different options over here to the right, whether you'll want to send a social media post, send an email, make a phone call, things like that. But since it's before ABA Day, we're allowing people to send emails all up until that point. Then we're going to release all of those emails all at once at 9 a.m. on April 20th. So all I'm going to do is come up here, enter in my name, my home address, and we want to make sure and have our home address here because this is actually what pulls your members of Congress. So if you put a work address here, it might not actually get your correct House member. And then coming over here, we just want to add our email address and click submit. And from there, we'll be given full emails that we can either click send right now, and it will be sent to our 2 senators and our representative, or like we know, we can go in and edit these things for more effect. And of course, one of the best ways that you can set yourself apart is by changing the subject line. Just coming in here and changing a few words. And just like that, it looks like a very different email coming in. Of course, we can also come in here and just add a quick paragraph. As a legal professional, I am deeply concerned with the lack of funding for LSC surrounding COVID relief efforts. And we've really done a lot to just make our email our own. Now, we want to go through and enter those for each of the different emails that we're going to send off. And then from there, we're going to just click submit. And just like that, we've actually sent emails to all 3 offices and making a real difference. One of the best parts about sending an email through our platform is that we actually have a partnership with the Hill. So every message sent through this portal is guaranteed to make it through congressional firewalls. We can either see here that we can go to the campaign page and take other steps, or we can sign up for the Washington Letter or the Grassroots Action Team right here. For right now, I actually want to go back and I want to show you some of the options that you can do over social media. So we're going to go down to the LSC specific page right now. And this is really your toolkit for all things LSC. We have our advocate function right here. We also have some great links to LSC, along with a one-pager that you are able to download and either mail in or email in, depending on whatever your meeting type is. We also have state-specific resources if you scroll all the way to the bottom, so you can actually find each one of your states, go on here and find this, and you can actually go and find your exact district specific infographics. These things have great information with specifically just for, like, say, Texas's 1st district. We have things like rural residents, the amount of veterans that qualify for LSC, the amount of disaster declarations by state, and a lot of other information. But really the main things that we're gonna focus on for our infographics are the fact that attorneys make all the difference in domestic violence cases and housing cases. But coming back from here, we're gonna actually go and click on Advocate now. And we're actually going to look at what it's like to send a tweet. Now, since I've actually entered in my information already, it saves all of that. So all I have to do is go in and tell it what I want to go and do. I've actually already linked my Twitter account as well. So whenever I come up here, I can sit here, that's funny, and we can see the thank you email sent for sending the last letter. But right here for Tim Kaine, I know I want to send this over my Twitter account. So all I have to do is click tweet, and it's already plugged in right here. I can go in here and change things, and I can add even an image if I wanted to, or I can add another tweet. But this is really the mainstay, and all I have to do now is click tweet, and I've officially reached out to my member. Of course, while I'm here, I see ABA Grassroots has just sent out a post, so I'll go ahead and like that. But that's actually how easy it is for you to get online and send a message directly to your members of Congress. Of course, you can see here that we have several other options for you to tweet out, and we also have infographics and things like that. So going back to our ambar.org/ABA Day page, I'd also like to direct your attention further down the page, past the training videos and state captain information, to your social media toolkit. Now here's where we have set everything out for you with suggested posts, even hashtags that you can use. But really what we have here that is really valuable to you is these images that you can include on your posts. Like we said, we really want to focus on the fact that attorneys make all the difference in domestic violence and evictions cases. So I'm just going to come on here and I'm going to save my image as. I'm going to save that. And then when I'm going over to write my tweet, I can easily add my image right there. And it's a matter of just clicking that. And it's that simple. Of course, I'm not going to send that right now, but that is really some of the tools that we want to use on our website. So now we want to ask ourselves, what do we want to include in these social media posts that will actually take it to the next level and be heard above the noise? And for that, I'm going to take you back to our slides here and give you just a quick checklist of things that you can run through to make sure that your social media post has everything it needs. And number one, of course, first and foremost, is the ask. We need to have that come across in the post. We have that included in some of our pre-formatted ones, but if you're writing your own or filming your own video, you want to make sure and include that. Number two, you want to make sure and include the handle of whatever member of Congress you're trying to shout out in that post. And of course, again, that's included in your pre-formatted messages. But when you reach out on your own, you want to include that as well. You want to include the hashtag. In this case, it will always be ABA Day for us. So that way you can have the strength in numbers that social media brings with it. We don't want to just be one-off posts that just happen to be out there. We want to make sure and say that we're part of this team and part of this movement that's trying to push Congress in the right direction. Number four, we really want to include that we're a constituent. And the best way to do that in under 240 characters is to just simply include your district as a hashtag at the very end. And that looks like, for instance, if you come from the 3rd District of Texas, you want to do a hashtag TX-3. If you come from the 7th District of California, you just want to have a hashtag CA-7. That gets across that you're a constituent while not taking up too many characters. And of course, if we can include a video or a photo, that really does take that message to the next level. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So that's why we have all of those resources on our website. Please feel free to go on there, click, save, and include those in your posts. Of course, there's nothing better than actually turning that camera on yourself, recording a short video, and then posting that to social media. There's honestly a few ways that you can get better at that. And then of course, you want to make sure and include the ABA grassroots in there as well, so that we can help bolster your message. We can like, we can retweet, we can comment, and we want to interact with you as much as you're interacting with the members of Congress.
After that rousing call to action, it is my great privilege to introduce two extraordinary senators. First, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senator Dick Durbin, followed by Senator John Cornyn.
We claim that one of the most fundamental rights as Americans is equal access to justice under the law. But for low-income, elderly, and underserved Americans, our justice system is anything but accessible. For nearly a half a century, the Legal Services Corporation has worked to change it. And as the single largest funder of civil legal aid in this country, you support more than 130 organizations across America. That includes 3 legal aid nonprofits in Illinois: Legal Aid Chicago, Prairie State Legal Services, and Land of Lincoln Legal Aid. These organizations provide indispensable legal counsel to elderly Illinoisans who've been financially exploited, low-income families struggling to keep a roof over their head, consumers subjected to fraud, and a lot of other people who are in need. You're the champions for our most vulnerable citizens, and we need to make sure that you have the money you need to create a more just America. Fortunately, there is a broad bipartisan support for LSC in Congress, because we all recognize the important work legal aid organizations do for our constituents. So I'm going to work with my colleagues across the aisle to include robust funding for LSC in this year's appropriations bill. Thanks for defending the people of Illinois and all underserved Americans.
Hi, I'm Texas Senator John Cornyn. I want to wish you all a warm welcome to this year's annual Fly-In Advocacy event. While it looks a little different than past fly-ins, I applaud you for holding it anyway. As we've all experienced over the last year, we're living in unprecedented times. And sadly, as many of you know, we've seen rates of domestic violence and housing issues rise abruptly during this time. I'm glad to have been able to help by championing LSC funding through my time in office, and I look forward to continuing that fight. Thank you for all the work you do to help those in need of legal assistance. I speak on behalf of my entire state when I tell you how grateful we are. So keep up the great work and enjoy the rest of your event.
Speak up. Now that sounds really simple. I know when I say that, people say, of course it means speak up. What it means is recognize that all of us have a certain amount of authority, a certain platform. Even if we might not think it's large, there are people that listen to us. Whether you have 4,400 or 4 followers on your social media, that means there are people that are looking at you. There are people that are watching you. Speak up and use your platform in a meaningful way.
The profession can only advance if attorneys like me and you share our story so that we move the needle forward for access to the profession and access to justice. Your voice matters.
There's many ways that advocacy is done. I used to, when I was a law student in Washington, D.C., work on the Hill for a U.S. Senator. I'm a former state legislator, and so I know the importance of advocacy, and advocacy is done many ways. The personal, one-on-one interaction, or through the digital means. we're in the 21st century, and it's an important way that lawyers can express their position, their support or opposition on key issues to their members of Congress.
And now it's my high honor to introduce House Majority Whip James Clyburn of South Carolina. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of your virtual fly-in. I've always enjoyed interacting with you on this occasion and look forward to when we can come back together in person. I'm particularly interested in this year because, as you know, COVID-19 has exposed some real serious issues as it relates to the legal rights of many of our citizens. Nowhere has it been hit hardest than in the world of housing. Housing has been a big problem all over the country, but particularly in my congressional district. Although we have made provisions for homeowners and for renters and for landlords, nothing beats being able to rely on legal help when it is needed. And as you know, you can go from state to state, and the help that's needed will be very different. I'm particularly concerned about places like North Charleston, South Carolina, that leads the nation, according to one study up at Princeton University, in evictions. Why is it that North Charleston is leading the nation in evictions? Why is it that Columbia is number 5 or 6? And it's interesting to me that we have these kinds of issues taking place around communities where the military is so present. And I keep wondering whether or not there's a nexus. And if it is, those who are victims are not equipped to know. And such will require legal assistance. And it's kind of interesting that this fly-in is taking place during the month of April. That's been designated as Fair Housing Month. And nothing that can be more important to anyone than fairness when they find themselves in jeopardy of losing a home or losing a place to live. And so I want to thank you for what you do, and that you know that you can continue to count on me to help carry out your duties and responsibilities to those who are in need of legal assistance. Thank you, and Godspeed.
And now it's my special privilege to introduce another Arizona woman lawyer, my senator, Kyrsten Sinema. Senator Sinema, thank you particularly for your steadfast support for federal judicial security. We are delighted to have you with us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Kyrsten Sinema, Arizona's senior senator. I'm proud to join all the attorneys, law professors, students, and judges attending today's American Bar Association advocacy event. Like most of you, I became an attorney to equip myself with the skills, knowledge, and training to help my community. When I was growing up, my family faced hard times and struggled, but we got by thanks to family, my parents' church, and hard work. My personal experience led me to become a social worker in Sunny Slope in Phoenix, Arizona, where I worked with kids and families facing situations like I faced. It was my job to make sure those kids got the same shot at the American dream that I had. And eager to help others through our justice system, I went to law school at Arizona State University, named after our first female Supreme Court Justice, Sandra Day O'Connor, Arizona's original cowgirl. Law school and social work changed how I approached the world, and they taught me to think differently. Both backgrounds have shaped my approach to getting things done in the Senate, teaching me to turn off, like a light switch, the chaos and noise, and focus on finding real, tangible solutions to our challenges. These days, it can seem like there's a new controversy every day, and it's easy to get distracted by every insult, every tweet, and every partisan food fight. But like many of you, my focus remains on solving problems and not getting bogged down by petty distractions on Twitter or TV. Legal practice, as you all know, requires individuals to be respectful to each other while participating in an adversarial process. Whether you win or lose your case, the legal profession teaches us to respect the rule of law, to participate in an impartial process that respects both sides, and to remain committed to our Constitution. And I use that same approach in the Senate. That approach allows me to work with anyone on either side of the aisle, even if we have profound disagreements on some issues, to find common ground and fix issues keeping everyday Americans up at night. That value also represents a core principle of the Legal Services Corporation, which seeks to guarantee American families equal justice to access, and to ensure such access for those who are unable to afford legal aid on their own. Hundreds of thousands of veterans, elderly victims of foreclosure, and women and children desperate to escape domestic violence rely on Legal Services Corporation to help access justice. I've urged congressional leaders to fully fund the Legal Services Corporation so it can continue the critical work of providing legal support to Arizonans in need. America faces big challenges right now. Currently, border communities in Arizona and across the Southwest are paying the price for the federal government's failure to secure our border and fix our broken immigration system. The complexities of immigration law make it nearly impossible for migrants to understand their legal rights. So we need to improve legal orientation programs, language programs, and access to legal assistance to ensure legal processes are administered fairly and consistently across Arizona and the entire southern border. As with most issues, partisan battles will not help us achieve these goals, especially amid the current health and economic crisis. That's why I remain focused on building bipartisan coalitions to get results. Another aspect of ensuring American families have equal access to justice is keeping our judges safe. Last year, the son of a New Jersey federal judge was tragically murdered in a targeted attack in his own home. It was later revealed that the shooter was also targeting one of our Supreme Court justices. And we all remember the tragic murder of John Roll, the chief judge of the United States District Court for the District of Arizona, who was killed in Tucson 10 years ago. These heartbreaking tragedies cannot be ignored. Congress must ensure that we protect our judges, who protect the legal and constitutional rights of the American people. And that's why I partnered with Republican Senator Lindsey Graham to pass into law the bipartisan Reauthorizing Security for Supreme Court Justices Act, a bill that permanently provides Supreme Court police the resources and ability to ensure domestic and international protection for our justices. Similar investments in safety and security must be made for judges at all levels. Judges show up in good faith to work and administer justice for millions of Americans. Their safety and security should be a priority. So that's a long list and it's a strong start, but we won't accomplish anything if Congress remains consumed by partisan warfare. Now more than ever, we need leaders who break out of rigid ideologies and bring people together to solve problems. Elected leaders are sent here by hardworking people to be change makers, not newsmakers. And that's why I choose to not be distracted by Washington drama. Instead, I'm laser focused on delivering results. Throughout my time in public service, I've learned important lessons. We can work with people who are different than us. We can be friends with people who are different than us. We can be good people who care deeply about each other, even when we disagree. And we can start by listening to someone with a different opinion. Listening not to rebut or debate, but listening to understand. We can embrace difference while seeking common ground. And that's my pledge to all of you, to work closely with you and my colleagues in the Senate to find bipartisan solutions and to maximize opportunities for our country. So thank you for your incredible work and the opportunity to join you today.
Hi there, my name is Eric Story and I'm the Director of Grassroots and Digital Advocacy here at the American Bar Association. I'm joined with Nathan Wilner, who is kind enough to take some time and talk to us about how we can talk to our networks and message our networks to expand our reach and make our voice that much more powerful. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us, and if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourself.
So, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And my name is Nathan Wilner. I'm the Government Affairs Officer at the National Creditors Bar Association and a proud American Bar Association member. And so excited to be able to talk to my colleagues about advocacy and grassroots efforts and social media, because I think that, as we just heard from Senator Sinema, this kind of advocacy really does get the attention of the elected officials and especially their staff as well. So being able to add that kind of my own personal experiences really, I think, will help everyone. And, you know, we're all in this together. So I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm quite familiar with how adept you are at LinkedIn. And I know some of the legal professionals that are watching right now have strong LinkedIn networks, maybe even have strong Twitter and Facebook followings. But they're not quite sure how to actually utilize these channels to get their networks involved in what they're working on. Would you mind telling us a little bit about how we can activate the people around us and get them involved in some of our projects?
Absolutely. So something that I learned actually from Eric and about how LinkedIn works, it was sort of intuitive on my part, but not completely obvious, was that so many members of legislative offices, staffers, members that work on the Hill do look at LinkedIn on a regular basis. So the first thing is, you know, you're going to be hitting your target audience by posting things on LinkedIn. So besides building your own personal network, you start with your colleagues, your friends, your office. Those are kind of easy. But then as time goes on, you're going to look for other people that practice in your space or other trade association members that link up with the same ideology and focus that you're trying to get across about who you are and what you're about. Now, many people, their first inclination is they see a post put up by, by a trade association or even a different bar association or court, and then they just cut and paste and put it up. That's better than nothing, but that doesn't really get the attention of people that are scrolling through their LinkedIn feed. What makes it unique if it's about you? And so you have to think of yourself as a brand. What do you stand for? What are you about? Because if you do this on a regular basis, and most experts suggest that at least 3 times a week, you post something on a regular basis and at varying times. And again, there are studies as to what time of day, what day of the week will get the most views. But again, you want to make it personal. So for instance, if we're talking about, ABA Day, while the ABA has fantastic graphics, if you want to get people's attention, you're going to see if you can find a picture of some advocacy effort that you did previously, maybe last year or another year when we were in person, noted as an archive photo. So it's clear that it's not a current photo, but that is going to get the attention. That's going to stop the reader and say, hey, what's Nathan up to? What's Eric up to? And that's going to draw them in. And then they're going to look at the verbiage. And again, you want to always link it to either a registration page or to more other information that's about the issue you're talking about. But the first thing is, if you don't get the person's attention, you've really not accomplished much. And then the next step is you want to reciprocate on other people's posts. So if you see a fellow member of your firm, a member of your committee that is interested in something and it mirrors what you're trying to accomplish, definitely want to like it. You want to comment on it. You want to reshare it. Those are the things that you need to think of over and over again: is reshare, like, and comment, and even like other people's comments. So every time you touch a social media platform, it not only goes to your list of contacts, but it goes to that person's list of contacts. And again, it doesn't have to be all encompassing and overwhelm you. But if you get into the regular basis of several days a week at certain times, you'll see that what your brain will do is you'll start thinking about things that you do or things that you read, and you'll say, that's good for LinkedIn. Or I just met with that legislator last year, and I have a photo with that person. I'm going to highlight this this advocacy effort or this legal issue, and that is going to get the attention. So I've been doing this for quite a while, and I know that it works because I've spoken to legislators and staffers and colleagues and people in other associations or in other states, and they say, oh, you're the LinkedIn guy. Now, at first I was a little taken aback. I didn't want to be the LinkedIn guy. But then I realized that I'm accomplishing my goal. And that is how you can use that tool to really advocate for issues that are so important to attorneys and the practice of law.
Great, that's great. And I will say you have been referred to as the LinkedIn guy around the office, but I promise only in good ways, only in good ways. I know a lot of people that are watching interact with different posts and different things that are on social media, but they're not quite sure what types of posts are really the best for them to get their message across. Would you let us know what types of things and actions people can take to really amplify their message? All right, we should be recording. And if you don't mind, I am just going to not really be in this clip or anything like that. Wouldn't want to distract from that nice suit of yours.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Okay.
Let me go ahead and also gallery. Sorry, I'm just setting up a screen recording on mine just because I like having all of the above. All right, we're all set. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak to everybody. First and foremost, if you wouldn't mind, just telling us a little bit about yourself and sort of what you would like to talk about.
Sure. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And my name is Nathan Wilner. I'm the Government Affairs Officer at the National Creditors Bar Association and a proud American Bar Association member. And so excited to be able to talk to my colleagues about advocacy and grassroots efforts and social media, because I think that, as we just heard from Senator Sinema, this kind of advocacy really does get the attention of the elected officials and especially their staff as well. So being able to add that kind of my own personal experiences really, I think, will help everyone. And, you know, we're all in this together. So I really appreciate taking the time to have me on today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know personally that you are quite adept at social media and really harnessing your network. I know a lot of the legal professionals that are watching right now use LinkedIn. They maybe use Twitter every once in a while, but they're not totally sure on how they can kind of utilize these platforms to reach out to their network and get other people involved in their programs. Would you mind telling us a little bit about how you use LinkedIn and Twitter, and maybe how some people can use those situations either in their firm or on their personal basis?
Sure, absolutely. So something that I learned actually from Eric and about how LinkedIn works, it was sort of intuitive on my part, but not completely obvious, was that so many members of legislative offices, staffers, members that work on the Hill do look at LinkedIn on a regular basis. So the first thing is, you know, you're going to be hitting your target audience by posting things on LinkedIn. So besides building your own personal network, you start with your colleagues, your friends, your office. Those are kind of easy. But then as time goes on, you're going to look for other people that practice in your space or other trade association members that link up with the same ideology and focus that you're trying to get across about who you are and what you're about. Now, many people, their first inclination is they see a post put up by, by a trade association or even a different bar association or court, and then they just cut and paste and put it up. That's better than nothing, but that doesn't really get the attention of people that are scrolling through their LinkedIn feed. What makes it unique if it's about you? And so you have to think of yourself as a brand. What do you stand for? What are you about? Because if you do this on a regular basis, and most experts suggest that at least 3 times a week, you post something on a regular basis and at varying times. And again, there are studies as to what time of day, what day of the week will get the most views. But again, you want to make it personal. So for instance, if we're talking about, ABA Day, while the ABA has fantastic graphics, if you want to get people's attention, you're going to see if you can find a picture of some advocacy effort that you did previously, maybe last year or another year when we were in person, noted as an archive photo. So it's clear that it's not a current photo, but that is going to get the attention. That's going to stop the reader and say, hey, what's Nathan up to? What's Eric up to? And that's going to draw them in. And then they're going to look at the verbiage. And again, you want to always link it to either a registration page or to more other information that's about the issue you're talking about. But the first thing is, if you don't get the person's attention, you've really not accomplished much. And then the next step is you want to reciprocate on other people's posts. So if you see a fellow member of your firm, a member of your committee that is interested in something and it mirrors what you're trying to accomplish, definitely want to like it. You want to comment on it. You want to reshare it. Those are the things that you need to think of over and over again: is reshare, like, and comment, and even like other people's comments. So every time you touch a social media platform, it not only goes to your list of contacts, but it goes to that person's list of contacts. And again, it doesn't have to be all encompassing and overwhelm you. But if you get into the regular basis of several days a week at certain times, you'll see that what your brain will do is you'll start thinking about things that you do or things that you read, and you'll say, that's good for LinkedIn. Or I just met with that legislator last year, and I have a photo with that person. I'm going to highlight this this advocacy effort or this legal issue, and that is going to get the attention. So I've been doing this for quite a while, and I know that it works because I've spoken to legislators and staffers and colleagues and people in other associations or in other states, and they say, oh, you're the LinkedIn guy. Now, at first I was a little taken aback. I didn't want to be the LinkedIn guy, but then I realized that I'm accomplishing my goal. And that is how you can use that tool to really advocate for issues that are so important to attorneys and the practice of law.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I apologize, but we have referred to you as the LinkedIn guy. It is not anything but a compliment around our office. That's really great. And I think getting a lot of these people to post in the right ways is really important. But can I ask, what types of posts do you like to interact with?
So again, don't be a one-trick pony. Don't just cut and paste other materials. If you have a comment, you have something to add, or you can make it personal, it goes much further to get people's attention and buy-in, and also comment. Sometimes you can even post a question like, I'm looking forward to attending ABA Day. Anyone on my list going to be there with me? I mean, even as something as simple as that, something that'll prompt a response. Because again, remember, every response is furthering your marketing efforts and your advocacy efforts to a broader audience. And after all, that's what this is about. You can have the best advocacy position and the best one pager and the best organized event, but if no one knows about it, it's really not going to go anywhere. Another thing to keep in mind is if you post it one place, post it in every place. You don't have to reproduce. Don't think like someone saw it on LinkedIn, they shouldn't see it on Twitter. Different audiences, different times of day. And again, the worst thing that'll happen is that someone will see the same thing twice. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So again, you want to kind of make it personal about you. Let your members of your list and members of your association or colleagues of your firm get to know you. So again, if you do some charitable event, or there's something with, if it's the appropriate type of thing to talk about, something you did on a holiday or a family type event, you want to sprinkle that into the mix. So people get to know who you are and what you're about and what you stand for, as opposed to just someone who just reposts what some organization put together. So those are the types of things that I think make a serious difference in the reach and influence that social media can give each and every one of the attorneys that are listening today.
That's interesting. And I know a lot of the people that are watching right now, and a lot of the people that represent firms that are watching right now, may be a little hesitant to comment on some things, or maybe even to get into social media altogether. What would you say to those people about how this presents them to the public and what this really does around their perception in the community?
So again, obviously you have to be mindful of what you post to make sure that it's within your firm's guidelines, that you're not doing anything that's inappropriate or going to get you into any sort of hot water with your supervisor or senior partner of your firm. But the other side of the coin is, and what I've seen is that, everyone's job that's listening is to be an attorney, to do their job. That is expected. What isn't expected is when you go the extra mile and you are not only talking about what's important to you, but you're talking about your firm. You're talking about some of the types of cases and even charitable or pro bono issues that your firm is involved in. So obviously you need to be smart, but what you're really doing is marketing your entire firm. So my experience is that if it's done properly and you're mindful about what you do, not only is it going to help your own professional career, but your supervisors, your senior partners, your colleagues are not only going to appreciate it, but you'll see that they're going to start doing it too. And that's been my experience. They're going to say, hey, how do I do that? And by the way, if you utilize LinkedIn, and actually you can directly connect it to either getting a client or making a difference on an advocacy type of issue, you can be certain that other people are going to want to copy and learn from you.
That's interesting. That's interesting. All right. Well, the last question I have for you is, what is one piece of advice that you can give everybody watching right now that they can get their networks involved in this ABA Day and beyond?
The number one thing that anyone who's reading social media can either will work in your benefit or to your detriment is your sincerity. So pick an issue that you're passionate about that works with the area of practice of law that you're in, your geographic area, or even what's timely in the media, as long as, again, it works within the guidelines I stated earlier. But sincerity and passion goes a long way when you're trying to convince folks to get involved in advocacy and really fighting for what's important.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Nathan. I really appreciate it. And for everybody watching, this is Nathan Wilner of the Creditor Bars Association. I highly recommend you reach out and connect with him on LinkedIn. I think you'll really be impressed at some of the things that are going on in our profession right now that you can get involved in, or you can even add your voice to the conversation. But that about does it for us now, and thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sinema. Hi, I'm Chris Brown, Chair of the ABA Young Lawyers Division and a proud member of the Ohio State Bar. I wanted to thank everyone who advocated during ABA Day this year. It really is encouraging to see the legal professionals on the front lines and our leaders in Congress working together. I know we have made a real impact on legal aid funding and judicial security. These are two critical issues to the legal community, but there is much more to be done. Law students and young lawyers around the country are facing insurmountable student debt, only made worse by the pandemic. The Biden administration is currently exploring options for debt relief, but as legal professionals, we have the power to make a real difference. That is why this summer we are planning another advocacy event to address the student debt crisis. The ABA has long advocated on issues of student debt, mainly for public servants. We expect issues surrounding student debt and student loans to be debated in Congress over the coming months, so we need your voices in the conversation. Luckily, our virtual platforms allow us to continue to engage with our members of Congress and senators from the comfort of our homes. This summer, please continue to use these tools to engage with ABA members by going to ambar.org/grassroots. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish this ABA Day and can't wait to see the impact we'll have over the summer. Now I would like to introduce ABA President-elect Reggie Turner and ABA Day Planning Committee Chair Bill Bay to close us out. Thank you both for your leadership and guidance, and I look forward to seeing all of you later this summer.
Thanks to Bill's hard work, Trish's leadership, and the tireless efforts of the Planning Committee, state captains, and GAO staff, this has been a truly memorable virtual ABA Day. While we all miss the camaraderie of an in-person ABA Day, this virtual meeting has afforded us the opportunity to reach out and digitally network with hundreds of our colleagues across the nation. I want to take this opportunity to announce with great pleasure that Bill has agreed to chair next year's ABA Day Planning Committee. That means you can expect another outstanding experience, hopefully in the nation's capital next year. Thank you, Bill. ABA Day 2022 is set for the week of April 4th. Please mark your calendars and plan to join us so that we can continue to work together to improve our justice system.
Thanks, Reggie. I look forward to your leadership and working together as we strive to make a difference this year and every year. I too want to take this last opportunity to thank each of you for taking the time to participate in the ABA Day program and to use the digital tool to advocate effectively for increased funding for Legal Services Corporation and for measures to improve judicial security. I cannot emphasize enough that it is your voice that is so important. It is your commitment and your message that you bring that gets the attention of the members of your congressional delegation. The effectiveness of ABA Day really does depend on you. One more important reminder, please continue to reach out to your congressional offices. Building relationships is essential. Stay focused on contacting your district offices on a regular basis. Let's be sure that our members of Congress have the information they need to make informed decisions about the issues that are crucial to our profession and the justice system. Now let's talk about what's ahead. Next year, we're going to celebrate the 25th anniversary of ABA Day. Even though it's hard to imagine that we're going to top this event, I promise you that ABA Day 2022 is going to be terrific. You will not want to miss it. But there's going to be lots of opportunities the rest of this year to be involved with important issues. We are already planning events like this one as we address the issues of importance to the profession. Let me close with the most important part of this. This is a team effort. I have been blessed with the support and hard work of our President Trish Rifo, our ABA Day Planning Committee, and our state captains, and the wonderful GAO office. Thanks to each of you. None of this would have happened without them. I hope to see all of you and work with you the next year and see you in person for ABA Day 2022.